So my first question is, do you consider yourself as successful?
Absolutely.
When did you first realize that you made it? Like, I made it, I'm successful, nothing to worry about.
Well, successful financially or successful in life?
Whatever you like, this is your
Yeah,
definition. I want to kind of hear
yeah,
your
yeah,
story, your journey. Like, when did you realize, like, hey, I made
yeah,
it? Like, I'm successful now.
yeah. You know, going so Shamrock grew as I was having heart failures. It was my mom and my dad's company. My mom and dad's company was very small, at very humble beginnings. It was everything: handyman work, electrical work, deck building work, everything. I mean, and it was a side business because he's an electrical engineer by trade, and
Mm.
so um, I grew up working hard work with him. And um, long story short, I came back and he passed away. I took it over in adversity, Shamrock, and I built it up from there. Right, I was stuck at 3 million, 5 million. Then I got this heart failure. I got a sinus infection from working a hotel that burned down. I was doing the takeoff, and I breathed in this stuff. Who knows? I got a sinus infection, but my heart went bad in 45 days. It was acute heart failure. And so I went in and went to the hospital, and it was code blue
When was
immediately.
that?
That was 2018.
2018. We'll come back to that story, but keep going.
And so, I had to have this my heart failure. I had to live on a pump, and then before I got this transplant. But going through that process, it was in my mind is like, what is success? Right? What is happy? Right? Like, what is, because I'm already dying. I'm looking at things. And I'm thinking about my kids. Right? I'm not thinking about business. I'm not thinking about money. I'm not thinking about those types of things. I'm thinking about uh, you know, being there for them, right? So I'm thinking about that. So success to me is not a financial thing. Success financially, I mean, even right now, Shamrock is big and growing, but Shamrock is big and growing and still has problems. I mean, you start out growing QuickBooks and then you're going in a NetSuite, and it's you got your whole level of problems. So yeah, it's successful, but it's not like it's easy street by any means. It gets harder. The more states you're in, the more laws you deal with, that type of stuff. So it's definitely
Let's capture this moment. That tell our audience where the Shamrock today. How many locations? What your revenue? How many employees? Any data you want to share? Like, let's picture
okay.
this moment.
Let's,
You
let's
might
dig,
look at
dig.
it a couple of
We're,
years
we're,
late.
we're going to zoom out. We're going to zoom out.
Sure, sure.
So Shamrock in 2018 was one location. We're currently in 8 states and 11 locations. 135 project managers, just under 50 employees, counting our crews, another 200 to 300, crews, foremen and crews.
You mentioned that your dad was doing everything. How do you go from doing everything to 11 locations doing one thing? Was that the strategy? Was that the decision? What led to this
Oh my
huge growth?
gosh. Yeah. So after growing up with doing that with my dad, I that's hard work. I didn't want to do that. Right. I went to school and, but I was still better. I went, had sales, had software development, finance background. And then my dad got sick. Well, let me back that up. I sold the software to the Department of Defense contractor, right? It was not, that sounds like a success. That's not a success. That's like me beating out a bunt. Like I've just barely made a single, like, and enough to pay everybody back and, start over. Right. At that time, I'm like, what do I want to do? I just did this software thing, and that was 10 years of slow growth. Right.
Well,
I'm like, I don't want to go back to that. I can go do roofing. I got all my family's friends. They all do roofing, but I didn't want a handout. I literally answered a Craigslist ad on a roofing. And then it was this firm out of Texas. I didn't know they had a set here in Kansas City. I didn't know anything about any of this stuff. They handed me some cards and they said, go knock some doors. And I'm like, what is this? And so that's when I learned the kind of the insurance game. Like I didn't know any idea, but I'm like, okay, I'm open-minded. I'm going to see what this is about. I learned the insurance side of roofing at that point, and I learned that the retail business, the truck and chuck and a truck type outfit that basically my dad was. That's brutal. The insurance money doing roofs, it's night and day. You go to the supply yards. And the guys with the nice trucks, what they're doing storm restoration work. Mm-hmm. The guys with the beat up trucks, they're the ones doing side
Retail
stuff.
So that's your business model.
So it started that way, yes. And so and I mean, just living in Kansas City, we get storms, overlap in the Midwest over the NOAA maps, and we have Hale Alley where we're all at, and so storms naturally happen every year, and so throughout this area, and we always hit somewhere. But we do storm, but we also do retail. We offer finance. We even do roof rejuvenation.
What do you use for rejuvenation?
Ugly roof. We got our juice downstairs, which is waiting on our trailer. So excited to get that in the mix.
Do you do a lot of repairs?
We do a lot. Yes, we do repairs. We used to have a minimum on it, a 2,500 minimum, just because we were getting called out so many different ways. But then now at this point where we're at, we have so many people, repairmen, that we do repairs.
Love it. What's your darkest moment since 2018? Was besides your heart failure?
Okay.
Like as far as business goes, like you started a business, you started growing. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of growing pains.
So here's one. So after I had a heart transplant, I had to have a valve replacement. But right after that, I was going through a financial situation with the bank. I'm growing so fast. I'm outgrowing my bank lines. Dealing with that when I'm just split open and barely move, that was really, really dark. So dealing with the financial growth of it, running the business is fine. But when you're so personally invested, you make different decisions, more passionate decisions, because you're so close to it. And then, cash flowing with the way the insurance pays. I mean, you're financing that growth.
How do you explain to the outsider who don't know roofing business, roofing industry, how do you explain big business failures? We have Excel Roofing folded like 2 years ago, company in the Midwest. I think they were doing like $25 million. Like for the outsider, they probably read the story and only see greed, only see, some fault to it, like foul play, right? Here, like as a business owner who had cash issues, who had to finance his own growth, how do you explain those stories? What do you think is taking place when big player in the storm restoration industry folds like that?
What it is I think small players grow to be kind of bigger players, and they outgrow their processes and procedures. Like with AccuLinks, you can outgrow AccuLinks, and AccuLinks talking to QuickBooks. I mean, it's pushing errors back and forth in your accounting. So you're dealing with accounting, not issues. True accounting. Yeah, issues. And also how it's recording. So, data-driven decisions are great, but if you got bad data because of the way the systems are set up, then you can make bad decisions. And so I think
did that happen to you? Like miscommunication between QuickBooks and AccuLinks. Can you explain that? Because I have students in roofing school, and my number one advice always: do not even sync them. Go to financial data here and customer service data here. And so many people argue with me on that. And I've heard it so many times where $15-20 million companies say data is not accurate. At the end of the year, you negative $1 million and $2 million that you don't have because you thought you have it. But now I hear it again from you, and I want you to explain it.
So it has to deal with in the contract worksheet section of AccuLinks when they're able to sync it up, and when they're moving it, it's recording the contract worksheets, and it's going back and forth. But if they receive money and then it's approved and then they move it back, it's going to move the ledger on your QuickBooks itself. Like no one touched QuickBooks. It's moving it for you, and it looks like double revenue or more. So you think you have more than you do.
And plus, you do see the numbers. It's always look like I often say that business owners in the roofing industry are the most delusional people. We always count money we don't have. It's always looks like more, right? Like you have the sales, like sales reps always tell you what, I'm gonna get that job. You always think that
Right.
more is coming, and then you look at the QuickBooks or AccuLinks and it's like, oh yeah, I have this money until you don't.
So you don't.
Wow.
So,
So
yeah.
what's the solution? How did you fix that problem?
I'm fixing the problem. It's a process. I mean, just to move over to NetSuite, for example, I'm started the process. That won't be done till like mid-February, but you can't start in the middle of a month. So it's got to start March, right? So you got months, right? So then you have to change the process of how a job is approved in your CRM, right? If it's going to talk to the NetSuite, right? That's when you outgrown QuickBooks.
Mhm.
But so that's what I'm doing. I'm implementing it. I've built my own CRM that we're going to come to market, Trusty.ai. That's kind of next gen CRM that I will be going to market with, but we're going to be, eating our own dog food first. Shamrock's going to be running on it, using it with 150 people on it. So
Why did you
uh,
said to run create your own CRM versus keep using another CRM?
so I want to be able to control my ecosystem, and AccuLinks is clunky. There's restrictions on it. There's the way that it's built on its database. When you're trying to grow, big, 250 million, you're going to need your own system that it's all communicating on, that's integrated with your marketing channel. It's more than a CRM, it's like an ERP system.
Hmm.
So you get your marketing channels coming in, you got your executive dashboard there. So you can look at your screenshots and make decisions. It's able overlays your customer data. So if weather comes through, it's triggering your customer data to send texts, emails, marketing, so that your guys got appointments already. And then it helps with procurement, so that you can get procurement for the amount of material for whatever type of weather event came through, because you're going to see that spike in business. And with the material supply the way it is right now, back on allocation, you got to really be smart about it when you're building that many roofs. So that's why we decided to build the system. I've got a technology background, but I just wanted to be able to control Shamrock Nation's technical platform so that we can continue to grow.
You have 11 locations. What's the goal for the next 5 years? How many more are you planning to open?
So I really want to I'm staying in the Midwest, right? We are opening 6 new locations in 2024. Those are all, it sounds like a lofty goal, but it's really not. They're backfill locations. For example, Wichita. Well, we already do roofs in Wichita. It's just we don't have a brick and mortar there.
Got it.
Or the Ozarks. We already do roofs in the Ozarks. We just don't have a brick and mortar there. So, we're just building up the depth and breadth throughout the Midwest is what the vision is.
What would you say your biggest accomplishment so far? Like, what are you the most proud of?
I'm proud of Shamrock, what I've built. I am proud of that. But I mean, it doesn't define me, right? Like as men, a lot of times our work does define us, right? But I've got this Shamrock and grew Shamrock, right? We've got Trussy, we're building Trussy, right? So, being a dad, being a kid, taking care of my kids, being a philanthropist, giving back, I think is what I'm most proud of. When I was in ICU on my deathbed waiting to get a heart transplant, as in I was going to die or I was going to get a heart transplant. And I've got a strong faith and good relationship with God. And when I was going in, when I was told I got the call and I got the heart, I just had this warm calmness over me, right? And I just had this light, right? And it's just this really not about what we get, it's about what we give and give back to people. And so it's this energy, right? And so I just want to be a conduit of light to give back to people, right? And so I think knowing that realizing that's what's important, because leading up to the heart transplant, I didn't spend any money. I drove the same 10-year-old truck. I didn't, after that, I went and made the mistake, bought two big boats, big lake house, all this stuff was on a boat, but realized real quick, because the doctor told me that the heart doesn't like stress. You got a great heart, but don't like stress. But so I'm on the boats, but I'm not made to sit on the beach and rot. I'm made for purpose. And so I think purpose is the major accomplishment. And I think that in this, what we do, it's like there's never enough. There we'll always keep working. Like guys like us, we won't retire. Like I know you. Like I know I watched you enough, right? Like what's next?
Love it. I want to share this. I was consulting with a gentleman out of New Jersey area just a couple days ago. He's been in automotive industry for over 30 years, 30 or 40, like all his life. He's like 65. He sold his business 4 or 5 months ago. Equity firm came in, his location, 40 employees, big shop. He said, I sold it because the offer was so good. I don't know if I'll ever have that offer, what economy is going to do, whatever. It's hard to find employees. I love my business, making 500-600K a year, every year, like, solid dude, solid business owner, sells his business. He's 65, schedules calls with Dmitry Lipinski, looking in the roofing industry. He's like, what's next? I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not building that business, but I can't retire. I go around, like, I can't be on the beach. The guy's in his 60s. I'm listening, like, for the most people, that's a dream life, right? And I'm listening to him. I'm like, my dad is that age. I'm like, I'm with you, man. I think we'd die way faster when we retire. And I could relate so much. I came home, is like, babe, I talked to this guy today. Like, that's going to be me in 20 years. That's so true. Like, yeah. But I want to hear a little bit more about your heart problems. What do you think led to it? Was it the stress? Was it just medical conditions? Like,
yeah. So that was a sinus infection from working that fire claim, and that led to it, is what the doctor said, in pathology. But and then that happened in 45 days. It was acute, heart failure.
wow.
And so I was lucky on that. But I was the first one in Kansas City. I've always helped leading research, and to have this HeartMate 3 in my chest, where they were able to open me up and cut the apex of my heart off, sew this pump on that had a cord to hang out. And I had lived on batteries, and I had these batteries in my football girdles, and I wore them because otherwise you have to wear this bag. And I wanted to have some swagger, so I got these underarm girdles so I can put some jeans on, so I can still be out in the field. And
Wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, I probably wasn't supposed to do that. I wanted me kind of sit back, but I really wasn't in the position to. I mean, I'm a single dad, and so I wasn't in the position to, financially kick back or retire or any of that. I had to keep going, and I think that gave inspiration to my guys, leading from the front, on batteries. I think that helped in a lot of ways.
But besides, so it was just a fire claim, sinus. So that's what led to it. How old were you at the time?
40 years old.
40. That's my age right now.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, what's the difference between major surgery and minor surgery?
What's that?
Minor is when you have it. Major is when I have it.
Right.
Like, if it hurts, I don't care what it is. Like no, like any surgery on me is freaking major. But I cannot imagine like heart. I remember I have ACL replacement in 2016, 17. I was on the crashes for like 8 months. Man, I would come to the job site, like try to. It's actually humbled me so much because I still have company going. We flipped 11 homes that winter, and I'm on the crutches. Like I still cannot touch my butt with my heel. I don't have flexibility. That's how I discovered CrossFit. So for 3-4 months, I was so messed up. If I squat, it was like so off balance, and my lower back threw off. My left side of the body was messed up, and started looking for kettlebells exercises to improve my back strength. I was so weak. For 9 months, I could not run. 3 months on crutches. It
Yeah.
humbles you. And I was like actually touring it playing soccer, like competitive soccer. My team won. Like it was a adult league, like Russians, Spanish, Romanians. Like so I have a Russian team. We play like against like Moldovians, Romanians, Colombians, Brazilians. So and we won. Like my team actually won. And it was like one game left. And I pop it like anyway, it was brutal, but I'm like, I'll never play soccer again. I'll never play basketball again. I don't believe in contact sport because like CrossFit actually not dangerous at all because you control your movements like kettlebells. Like you have to be dumb to get hurt with a kettlebell. People
Yeah.
think it's dangerous. It's not. Soccer is dangerous because you do not control the movement. You make one
Right.
step, one touch, and ACL or whatever goes out.
It's intense.
Yeah.
Soccer.
I mean,
Yeah.
boxing is a little bit contact sport. I'll do that one time.
Yeah.
Biggest business mistakes.
Biggest roofing mistake, I think, is relying on your data from your CRM, and again, I'm a data-driven person, but we have, clean data, but you can get lost in the numbers if it's not clean when you have that many people having access to your CRM. Like if I have 140 project managers plus all the back office, I mean, you can imagine the bill, number one, but number two, how many people are touching it, a file
Mhm.
and moving things. And so, yes, there's controls, but one point of failure has always been usually the major cause of my business failures, business problems. If you got production and you got one point of failure, you got to make sure that there's someone else that can fill multiple roles. We train everyone here to replace themselves so that they can move on to the next role.
I see. In sports, we say that you're only as strong as your biggest weakness. That's kind of the same thing. I often see roofers making a statement like, "Oh, I don't like accounting," or "I don't like marketing." Well, if you don't like it, that's your weakness. Would you
Right.
agree that that's what's going to bring you down one point a day?
Absolutely, it will bring you down if you don't have your county. If you don't have a right capital stack to be able to support your growth, then that's going to be a major issue. It's and it's tough for roofers to even understand what's capital stack. How do you grow a bank? Why would I need this line of credit? What do I want to do here? Where am I going to spend the money? And especially either storm or just roofing because it's seasonal. There's a lot. Banks are so we're in a liquidity crunch right now. They're being restrict about lending. So I would say roofers need to be cognizant of having plenty of operational cash flow to keep.
You have 11 locations. What would you say best roofing size per location or per company? Like the most comfortable. Some people say it's 5-7 million. I thought it for years. Some say it's 15. Some say it's 3. What did you find the best roofing business size? Location or entire operation? Obviously, you're still growing, but what's
Yeah.
comfortable?
So the majority of them, 5 to 7 is pretty comfortable. But when you're at 5 to 7, you're still trying to grow and push through 5 to 7, and then you start, getting past cash accounting into accrual accounting. And that's difficult, right? Especially when you're cash accounting, it makes sense, right? Now you're accrual accounting, you're booking everything out in the future, you're adding your expenses as it all happens out. It takes a little bit.
When do you make that switch? When do you recommend?
So most people try to push it off as late as possible from a tax benefit. But once you start getting past 16 million and you have to start moving to accrual accounting, that's when you start having to do that.
Best roofing markets in your opinion?
The bet in the South, you get the roof all year round, but they don't pay as well. Texas is a broken market.
What
Um,
what what made you say that? Why is it the broken market?
they don't require any licenses, or anybody can be a roofer. So I try to focus on more separate yourself. Either do luxury roofs or do something so that there's a higher
Less
barrier of
competition?
entry. Yes, separating yourself. So it wouldn't be the southern markets. I mean,
What about
Arkansas,
Florida?
I wouldn't be in Florida right now. They got to have some laws change before I'd want to go roof or in Florida. They've had to deal with some hardships, I would say, especially with all the accounting. I mean, that throw a business off for sure. That's why you definitely want some operational money on the side to navigate that. But the best ones I would say, is in the Midwest where we're at. I mean, we get hail every year, whether Kansas City, Omaha, Minneapolis. I mean, you guys are getting smoked. We're working our way up there. I'm still, we moved up north, up north first, and because they pay more, right? And then the winters, you're not roofing all year round, so you have a more seasonality in your cash flow. So then we moved more southern markets to level out the seasonality to roof year round. They don't pay as much. So that's why we kind of created this footprint of the Midwest so that we can level out the seasonality, roof year round.
What about Chicago market?
The whole state of Illinois, I love the people from Illinois, but working with Illinois officials, it takes forever. I mean, I've had the license there. I've been waiting over a year. I've had difficulty with Illinois, Chicago. I probably wouldn't be going to roof Chicago.
Insurance companies are also pretty tough there, and it's competitive. Chicago is a weird market. There's a lot of immigrants, a lot of Polish and Russians, what's not. But in general, it's just like so dense. And I guess every time there's it reminds me a little bit of New York. I noticed in Chicago airport one time, because I travel all the time, and people are mean. When you have this energy, when too many, why New York people are mean? Because the traffic is so big. When you have to, let's say you're a TCA agent and you go through thousands of people per day, you don't have time to smile. People don't pay you for that. You have to move. And it makes you rougher, in a sense. You go to New York, you go to Chicago, that's what you get. You go to freaking Utah, I don't know, South Dakota, North Dakota, people nice, people smile. They don't care.
And that's what I like about the Midwest market. I mean, it's a handshake. It means something more.
But it's still big enough. The buying power is there. People, it's good income. It's not Alabama. People still nice. I mean, Minneapolis is 5 million people. So there's plenty of roofs to go around. Infrastructure is great. We don't have traffic. You don't have Chicago traffic in Minneapolis.
Right.
I love it. I agree with you. I'm right there with you. But guys, if you're watching this is not infomercial. Please don't come. Stay where you are. This is just a conversation. I don't know why we're even doing it. You mentioned that you started with a storm restoration. Let's talk about residential retail versus storm chasing and working with insurance. What's your split right now in your business?
It's about 85% insurance, 15% retail.
Does it change year to year?
It's moving more retail. We do have financing. We do financing as well. A lot of times it'll still be an insurance job. They can file their own insurance. Here's the job. We'll finance a job. We're doing the job. Their insurance job is on their back end. You know what I mean?
I see.
So it's kind of a hybrid deal. So we have those as well. So I would say 85% are insurance and the rest of them are retail.
Do you do a lot of door knocking? How do you generate your leads? What's your business model for?
Yes. So I spend a ton of money on marketing. So I'm on the airwaves, I'm on the TV, I'm on Google, I'm everywhere. And so the air support helps the guys and gals in the field who are knocking. So the thought process is, and we're big in the community when we go there. When we go and so we're in a community, we're giving roofs away, roofs for heroes. We're giving cars away, cars for heroes. We're big in the community. And then, so if they hear us on the radio, and then so there's someone's knocking on their door, oh, it's Shamrock. They wouldn't be out here if there'd be no problem. I mean, they're spending lots of money on marketing, so it helps them at the door, right? So we do door knock. it's a 50-50 split on that, of what the marketing generates and what the door knocking generates.
Love it. Why roofers don't do repairs? 60-70% of roofing companies don't do repairs. Do you guys do repairs? And what's your take on repairs?
We do repairs at first when I was growing and just focused on, roof replacements and growing and building the team. Repairs, while profitable, slowed us down. And I think that's why most roofers don't. Them coordinating with the crew, because usually they don't have in-house people to go do a repair. So I think that's why the majority of them don't do repairs.
Tricky question. So work comp and liability insurance. Do you see it as a tools or just necessity evil? How, like, have you ever have claims? There's so many people say that, like they've been dropped recently. I see a lot of very negative experience with the work comp. You pay. The rate is super high. Something happened. They don't pay or they deny. What's your take on that part of the business? Buying insurances. How insured are you? And is it a good tool or let's talk about insurance.
So insurance is a good tool. I would say I'm probably more overinsured just because the nature of the business, because I have 100 trucks out driving around. But I'm also looking at a captive insurance where I'm self-insuring, right? So we're having more safety precautions in place. I try not to file anything, but so that's kind of where we're going to. But from workman's comp and claims, it's definitely worth it.
Have you had any incidents, injuries?
Well, funny enough, yes, and it was myself, and I'm literally on a ladder on wood rot, and it went down on the wood rot, and I fell off this ladder and compound fractured my leg. They want to amputate my leg, and so I had to have 5 surgeries to keep my leg.
Wow.
And that happened in 2012. But that's how I thought that I'd got this heart infection. I thought the heart infection was from the bone infection, from the blood. I thought something in there that went to my heart. But no. But since I was the one that had that, I wouldn't. No, it wasn't. You can exclude yourself, right?
That's how a lot of business owners do it, especially first year in business. Everybody excludes everyone. They hire a lot of subs, 1099s, who also exclude themselves. So no one covered anyone. It's weird. The whole game, I used to install siding. And those crews, the way we operated, the owner of the crew makes you buy insurance. He is excluded himself. You're 1099 for him. You exclude yourself. So he pays $100 a month. You pay $100 a month. You work for the builder. And we've been doing it for years. I remember I work in a cabinet shop, the same thing. Cabinet shop owner makes his installers, buy their own insurance. And we have one guy who's supposed to have insurance. He was installer, but on paper, 1099 independent installer. Everybody excludes everyone, but that guy in particular actually canceled his insurance. It was like $70 a month, and we work in a couple $1 million house, and the guy cuts off his finger on the table, so on the job site. And insurance companies will always find a deeper pocket. So they go to cabinet owner, then they go to the builder, and I think in that case, the installer got a settlement. He was so proud of it. He got $15,000 Honda Accord. He paid for Honda Accord with insurance settlement. Cost his finger. And he was happy with it.
I mean, what's a finger worth, right? It was like an actuary.
It's crazy. But I remember this, now, I'm a business owner today. I'm like, how was that legal? How did that business owner got away with all of that? Wild West. It was in Atlanta. Just crazy stuff. Next question is this. Can can you have your roofers tied down? Like as a business owner, I covered a story in the roofing news last week. OSHA is fining this company like $3.5 million, and they literally target this contractor, taking tons of pictures. He has like, I don't know, 15, 20 fines totaling 3.5 million. He got 250K in fines paid. And he's like, they want to me out of business. And he claims like, how can I make them? Like if they, like I can provide the training, I can buy it, but if they're not gonna do it, what are you gonna do? What do you do when your employees or crews don't tie down?
Well, then you don't pay them. I mean, then you don't, well, you pay them their job, but you don't re-engage them. I mean, it's hard. It's very, very hard. You'll go on a crew and you implement all these OSHA, you go over everything, you talk to them, you tell them, here's your stuff. You get out there, you see them, you're tied down, they see your truck drive off and they unhook, they just need to go get this little, piece over here. And, it happens, right? Because I asked the same question. How do you make them? And again, they tell me, well, you have to, motivate them through, the carrot or the stick, right? How are you going to motivate them? And so it's whether you hold their money, not hold their money, but say, hey, it needs to be like this, or
But here's the argument,
because they're 1099.
I get it, but argument with that is, so let's say I have a company, you have a company, we have a crew in between us. They can work for you, they can work for me. You don't care about OSHA regulations. You're like, guys, here's the work order, go do this job. And I'm like, guys, if you're not gonna do this, I'm not gonna pay you or fine you, whatever. And they're like, screw you, I'm gonna work for this guy, he does not care.
Right.
Like it's unfair advantage for the guys who don't care.
It's unfair advantage for the guys that don't care, because it is. The OSHA then comes after us, puts that guy, out of business. He can't pay the 3.5 million fines. That's a lot. I mean, I don't know that these OSHA folks know necessarily what they're doing. I mean, the whole government, in fact, I don't know what they know what they're doing.
How do you describe it? Are they watching out for us or are they after us?
I think they're after us until they realize they have a problem on their hands, like what is happening in this whole state of Florida. There's people down there that need help. A lot of people need help, and they don't have crews. They don't have people. They don't get enough people to get it done.
It's overregulated.
Overregulated.
So sad. Let me ask you this: commercial jobs. You're a big company. You probably get a lot of leads, a lot of calls for like big commercial stuff. How much of your business is commercial? Are you getting in commercial? Is it a big department? Is it big goals? Like, what's your commercial take?
It's currently about 10%, and it was getting bigger in terms of like multifamily in like 2020 after the COVID lockdown. Multifamilies kind of just didn't. They were holding on to the purse strings. They were, and so now we're seeing more multifamilies come on board. We do big roof, flat roof, but low slope commercial roofing. We do, and the commercial roofing department is growing. It is growing. We're with more estimators. To be honest, I'm trying to. It's growing organically, right, from all the marketing that we're doing. But I'm trying to be careful with that because the margins are a lot different, even at my size, right, which is a little under 40 million. A large commercial job will take you out if they don't pay you, straight up. And so that's why I'm just careful.
The risk is high. The mistakes are high. I covered a story in the roofing news. Builder sues subcontractor for $1.5 million. So sub did not pay. Like he filed bankruptcy. So imagine in your case, like let's say you take $3-4 million project, you hire a sub, so your labor is $1 million, your materials is $1 million, whatever, and then he files bankruptcy, so it lands on you. But you know what that guy did? I've never heard of this before. There's always something new in this industry. He faked lien waivers, so he gave the builder lien waiver, lien release from the supplier. Like he paid the bills.
Okay.
And then files bankruptcy himself. And then bills ended up being on contractor himself. So imagine you hire sub, he did not pay his bills, he did not pay his labor or whatever, files bankruptcy, and now you stuck with those bills, still probably have to do the labor, and he sues him for 1 point. Essentially, he frauded, like he committed a
Yeah.
fraud.
Yeah.
Never cease to amaze me. Like you never know what
Yeah.
you're going to be dealing with.
And it's scary, right? Like you got everybody coming at you. You know, you're growing outgrowing AccuLinks, you're outgrowing, QuickBooks, you're outgrowing, you got supply houses pushing, lines, unlimited lines of credit at you, right? Which
But they'll
is
come after it.
right. I mean, so yeah, growing is it's scary.
It is. What's so different now in 2023 than you haven't seen before? What changed this year, last year, after COVID, maybe?
You're seeing insurance, you're seeing deductibles go up, you're seeing different policies, you're seeing 15-year, you're actually seeing insurance carriers want to care about the property before they insure it, whereas they used to insure it without even looking at it, and then there's damage or whatever, and they're like, they didn't want to insure it, right? So so I think that's a couple things. That's one, going to increase more business, because if insurance companies now want to make sure your roof's 15 years old or newer, or they won't insure you, that's going to force a lot of these older roofs to get re-roofed, right? But then on the other hand, the insurance companies are getting stricter on approving roofs.
Is it easier or harder to get into business now?
I would say there's a lot more information out there now. So I would say from that point, it'd be easier. But with that, there's a lot more competition now. So if you're new and you're starting out, you can definitely do it. You got to be lean, nimble, quick, and mean. But, yes, you can. And there's a lot more information out there now, which is a lot more helpful. But the insurance, the way they work and pay out a claim these days, that has been way more difficult. So you need to know what you're doing.
If you would start a roofing company, brand new roofing company, let's say you lose it all, you move to another state, whatever, like it's just you, new market, you don't know anyone. Step 1, 2, 3, what would you do?
I go into a new market, I'd open an office. I would, get your Google local right away. You start marketing that, you start building that up, you start networking yourself. You meet with your suppliers, you'd get your account set up, and you'd start looking for your crews, right? Like your subcontractors right away. And you get, and
Who's your first hire?
Yeah, first hire is going to be something to duplicate myself. Somebody like an admin right out the gate, so that I can free me up, help answer the phone calls, help my calendar. Next hire would be probably sales, project manager. And that way, since I've got I've got an admin, I can help with the production, coordinate the production for that project manager, make sure the jobs go smoothly and the client's taken care of. And I think, just so then you got your one project manager and your admin, and then add on your project managers from there.
Love it. You know what's so cool about this country, and not only this country in a whole, is there's so many opportunities. There's so many little niches. There's business. You can build business around absolutely anything. Like, I don't know, like if I want my kids to go to college, I think I do, so they have a base and they learn how to learn. But once you learn how to learn, nobody can take it away from you. Like the whole thing, like about entrepreneurship, once you learn something, I'm not afraid to lose it all, because I know I can go and rebuild it tomorrow, and it'll be like way faster and way easier. Because people don't realize in this country what buying power of your customer really means. Like for those who complain that, oh, it's competitive or insurance don't pay, like, listen, go to any other country, go to China, go to Russia, go to like Eastern Europe, and try to have someone write you a check for $10,000. Like, honestly, Like I remember when I started roofing company, I would drive home and I have 6, 7 checks in my pocket, like totaling, I don't know, 100K. I'm like, babe, why people are trusting me? Like you can sell yourself on a promise that you're gonna do something, and people like, okay. Dan Young told me the other day that he hired garage company door and they filed bankruptcy. He wrote them $10,000 check, and he's like, I have to deal with that now. So he was giving me a compliment on directory.com. He's like, that's why we need your service, because that's the real problem. Like we have a buying power, but it's easy to lose that in the sense. But then, okay, you lose 10K. For someone, might be devastating. But overall, like the money is cheap. Like people don't realize it. And if you cannot be successful in this economy, in this country right now, you will never be successful. Would you agree?
I would agree. I would agree. We have so much opportunity here, and so much information at our fingertips. It just takes execution. It just takes action.
One more question about your heart. You said you had it was a heart transplant. Guide me through
Yeah.
that. I'm just curious myself, like that process, like what.
So I was in ICU because the pump I'd gotten infected. So I'm in there in the ICU, and I was waiting on the heart transplant. It came in and it said, you got you got a call. You got the call. We found a heart match for you. I've been waiting for 3 years for this heart.
Well,
And so immediately,
did they give you the story of the heart?
so immediately I started praying for the family of whose heart I got. And right away, because they're prepping you right then. They're prepping you to go back. And so then, then you're back, and then you're done. And then, you wake up, and I'd had a pump, so I'd had a flow. I didn't have a heartbeat, and I woke up and it sounded like drums. And then, just kind of heal from there. But no, I still, you can write a letter to find out who your donor is. I wrote my letter, and I still don't know who my donor is.
So you don't know the back end story.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
I can't imagine. I just can't.
Yeah. So,
You see all these movies, you think about it. You know, this story hits home because I don't know if it's a business, I don't know if it's a stress, but I had a heart problem started in 2015, 2016. Funny enough, it's always the same time of the year. It's June, July, like the busiest time of the business with the biggest anxiety. So I went to cardiologist. Actually, for the past 5, 6 years, I've done blood tests. I've seen, even in China, I went to like Chinese doctor. I'm like, because I keep checking. Everybody keeps telling me, I went to Mexico to check my heart. I went to China to check my heart. I've done it here. Everybody's like, you're fine. I'm like, if I'm fine, why does it hurt so much? And everybody gives you a different explanation. You know, it's like, oh, it's your rib cage, or it's your exercises, your ab. And then they give good explanation. They're like, well, because my heart always were hurting in when I'm resting. And they're like, well, heart cannot hurt when you rest. If you have a heart problem, it would be during the exercise, during the activity. And when you rest, it's something else. And that humbles you because, I don't want to,
yeah.
you think about your kids. You don't want you think about the future. Like I don't care if I die tomorrow, but I have 5 kids. Like what's gonna happen to them? So I better check it out. So every time I hear like Chris Parosky, he has valve like this, like his heart problems, heart like whatever. So every time I hear the story, I'm like, I need to talk to that person. That's why I wanted to talk to you so bad, because it's a real thing. And unfortunately, people in our industry don't take care of themselves. I made me a promise in 2018, right around the same time you had a promise that no matter what, I actually gonna I was suicidal, and I told people I was so depressed, like I have heart problems, mental problems, whatever. And I said I will never skip the gym, and I will always take care of myself. And starting 2015, 18 to today, for 5 years, that was always number one priority. If I start my day not at the gym, I can't operate. Like something is off. Like, I don't care if I have 10 meetings, get up earlier, but you have to take care of yourself.
Body over business,
But
body over business. And that's what I tell myself. I mean, business is my hobby. Business is what I do for fun. I mean, I don't do anything else. But I do go take care of I do go exercise. I'm not like, I'm in the gym doing, pull ups. Can't do a muscle up. I can do a lot of pull up, but I can, and I get my walks in. It's for my mental clarity, or ride the, whatever. Because this age they want me lean. They want me more Patrick Swayze than Arnold Schwarzenegger. Um,
I see. So
yeah,
you're still like, and do they endorse it? Do they tell you like to do it, or just you wanted to do it? Are you prohibited to do anything?
yeah. I mean, no, I'm not prohibited. They want me to do what my body will allow me to, but I always push the envelope because I want it to be better. I feel like I can train your mind. Your body. It's because even the pressures of the body, of the heart, before it comes out of and before it goes in, your body's going to adapt to your pressure. So you kind of got to, you got to be cool. You got to be you got to be in line, because in your mind's controlling that. And so you got to body over business. You got to take care of your body first, mind, body, spirit,
Body
all in
over
one.
business. Yeah. What about the spirit? What about do you read the Bible? Do you go to church? What religion are you? How important is that to body versus business?
I mean, this body is just a body that's carrying the spiritual body. And I'm a non-denominational Christian, and I do read the Bible, and we even have in Shamrock Nation, a whole, God's favor on Shamrock channel, where in Slack, where we have devotions and we talk about it, so we're all going through problems in life, we're just trying to help everybody through them. I mean, they're just different. The details are different, may not be as extreme as a heart transplant, but
Sure.
they're going through them. They don't minimalize them any, and so that's why and the financial success is just one measure of the success. The health is the mental health, the wellness of everybody that works together.
So if you would, what's your priorities then? So where's health? Where's spiritual?
Spiritual's top,
So
I'm
God first.
God first,
What's second?
body,
Body.
health. Yes, you got to be here, be
Where's
the best.
family?
After body,
After body. So body is about family. I actually like it.
you got to take care of yourself. You got it so you can be the vessel. And when they train you on the airplanes, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and your kids. You got to take care of yourself.
Yep. I always bring that analogy to 100% agree, because it's so true. Like, if you cannot take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of others.
And then I think the other thing is then goals and dreams, right? Because my goal, was to take Shamrock. I'd not in my wild imagination that I had ever think that I would achieve this level where I'm at now, right? And I've already, had the heart transplant. And it's like, now what? Like, I'm actually healthy. I made it through the heart transplant. Business is good. It's growing, but it's like, now what? And it became a place like, you got to increase your goals. And I will give you an analogy. Neil Armstrong, the astronaut, landed on the moon. After he won in his entire life, that was his goal, to land on the moon. After he landed on the moon, he came into this deep depression, alcoholic, lost the life, not until he recalibrated his dreams and goals did he come out of that. Right. And so then same after I had the heart transplant, the business is like, now what? Right. Now it's recalibrating the goals, and make a bigger vision. Yeah, we're 40, 250, that's kind of where I'm going. So that's the vision anyway, so just keep getting your dreams bigger. I mean, if you're getting close to them, make them bigger. We don't be complacent. Comfort zone's danger zone.
Give one advice to someone who just starts his company now, like creating his name, filing LLC, buying his first insurance. I talked to two guys in the last few days. Give them advice.
Well, it's all about prospecting. Start getting your clients. Prospect. However that is, yes, internet marketing is crucial. That's going to take some time. Be working on that on the side, but be out in the field. Be belly to belly. Be talking to people, because that's how you're going to get your initial business if you're just starting out. It's two things. It's your marketing and content, and it's out in the field, belly to belly, talking to folks, and that's what it is.
Love it.
Action.
Love it. Great time, brother. Thank you so much for being generous. Like, we covered a lot. I learned a lot about your story. Heart story is very touching. Like, I mean, there's so many lessons, business lessons, personal lessons. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me. Let's do it again.